So let's talk about taxes, specifically what kind of taxes apply when purchasing a vehicle. So I'm going to be talking specifically about Manitoba and how it works here and the rates here. So all of my examples will be reflecting that. But the math of how to find taxes will be the same no matter where you are. You just kind of need to know what the rules are and what the rates are. That'll depend on where you are. So let's get started here first. In Manitoba, when you're talking about cars, you've got two taxes to contend with here, and that's the GST and the PST. Okay, so the GST, that's your goods and service tax. Okay, so that is a federal tax. So you pay that anywhere in Canada. So there's goods and service. And then there's the PST, which is the provincial sales tax. Okay, so you should guess that one is provincial. That's in Manitoba. Not every province has this. Some of them have what's called an HST, which is the Harmonized Sales Tax, which is both of these put together. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but basically that. But for our purposes, we just do GST and PST. Now in Manitoba, in this year, 2021, the percent taxes are 5% for GSTs and 7% for PST. Okay, so that means on every purchase that GST is applied to, you pay an additional 5% for GST, and every purchase that PST is applied to, you pay an additional 7%. And if you use both, if you do both taxes, then it'll be 7 plus 5, which is 12%. So usually when you're purchasing something like you go to a corner store, you pick up a bag of chocolate, whatever, it'll be 12% tax added on top of that. Okay? So let's take a look at some examples so I can show you a couple different ways to find tax and to apply it to the full amount. So let me just set up a question here. So here's a scenario here. So let's say we have a used SUV that is purchased in Winnipeg, Manitoba at a dealership for $30,000. So a few things that are important here that I'll outline. I'll just use this pointer here. So first, it is in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which means that our numbers for PST and GST are accurate. We can use those. Purchased at a dealership, which is important for a reason I'll tell you in just a second, and it's $30,000. Okay, so the questions we're asked here are A, first, what are the taxes? On this purchase? So how much are you taxed? And B, what is the total amount paid? Okay, so first things first, in Manitoba, if you purchase at a dealership, that means that both GST and PST apply. Okay, so that's the first part. So we know that that's going to mean it's a 12% tax. Okay, so we've got 12% of $30,000. But we can't use 12% just as a percent in our equation. We have to turn it into a decimal first. So to convert from a percent to a decimal, 12%, we divide by 100. Okay, I like to remember this by thinking per cent means per 100. Cent means 100. So you divide it by 100 to get rid of that percent. Okay, so you get 0.12 as our answer there. Once you have the percent as a decimal, you just take the value that you're trying to find the percent of, and then you multiply by this decimal. Whoops, that was last year, or year before. 0.12. Okay, so we have 30,000 times 0.12, which will give us our taxes here for a total of $3,600. Okay, that's how much you're paying just in taxes. So that's PST and GST that you're paying. So now when it asks what is the total amount paid, all that means is, here's the price of the car, and then there's the extra money that you paid just for taxes. So how much did you pay in total? Well, you paid both, so you just add them up, and you end up with $33,600 as your total amount paid. Okay, simple enough. Find which taxes do you pay, find the tax rate, convert that into a decimal, multiply the decimal on the number, the total price, then take that tax and add it back onto the total price for our final price. Okay, But there is an easier way to do this. There's a shortcut I like to use, so I'll show you that too. So I'll just set up the second question here so we can take a look at it. Okay, so here's our second question here. So again, outlining some things that are important. This is in a used car is purchased privately in Oakbank, Manitoba. So we're in Manitoba, so our taxes, our PST and GST are accurate, 5 and 7. 5 for GST, 7 for PST. We're paying $9,500, important piece of information. And what is the total amount paid? And the last thing to note here is that this is purchased privately. So, two ways to purchase a car. You can go to a dealership, you can have one sold to you there, or you can purchase a car, from a friend or from somebody you know, or maybe you're on Kijiji and you found a good deal. But that's what's called a private sale. And in private sales, only PST applies. So just PST. Okay? So just noting here, the last question also had a used car. The difference is not whether it's used or new, it's where you're buying it. So if you're buying it privately, as in not from a dealership, it's just PST. You purchase the car from the person you're purchasing the car from. And then when you go and get insured, so you go over to MPI, you get your insurance, that's when you pay your PST. And the PST is paid on the book price of the car. But we'll go over that in another lesson. Today we're just going to assume it's the price of the car. Okay, so rambling aside, we'll start with our PST. If you remember, our PST is 7%. Okay, we convert it into a decimal. So divide by 100 equals 0.07. Now here's what we can do here. Here's the shortcut. Okay, instead of then taking that and multiplying it by the price and then adding that back together, we can skip a couple steps just by doing this. So we've got our price, 9,500, okay, times 1.07. So all I did was add 1 there. Okay, so times 1.07, and what that gives us is the number with taxes all together, all done in one step. Okay, so 9,500 times 1.07 gives us 10,165. Okay, so that's our cool little shortcut here. Now if you get really good at this, you don't even have to do this step, right? You can just recognize that it's going to be 1 point, whatever your rate is. Okay, so if it's 7%, it'll be 0.7. If it's say 5% for GST, it's 1.05. If it's 12% for both, it'll be 1.12. And so on for whatever taxes you happen to have. This will add the taxes in and give you the total. Now, if you want just the taxes, like just how much taxes you're paying, then you don't use this one. You use the last method. But if you want just the total, so this is just the total, then this shortcut will save you just a little bit of time and make doing taxes just a little bit easier.